Next key concept, sustainability. Sustainability refers to the long-term maintenance or viability of any particular activity or policy. In economics, it is most commonly used to refer to the ability of the present generation to satisfy its needs by the use of resources, and especially non-renewable resources, without limiting future generations' ability to satisfy their own needs. The problem arises because present generation, so it'd be us, in terms of our future generation. So present generation at any moment in time engages in many economic activities of production and consumption that too often destroy or degrade, which means lower the quality of the environment and non-renewable resources. The quality of such activities is that, so the result of such activities is that future generations will be penalized. They'll be penalized for what the actions that we, as the current generation, has taken. So if we commit this act of being unsustainable, the future generation will have to be penalized for that. This comes in environmental impacts, global warming, etc. Therefore, the issue is how to develop methods of production and patterns of consumption that will not result in such environmental and resource destruction and degradation. Next, change. Pantherae is a famous saying by the Greek philosopher Heraclitus. Sorry, that means everything flows. Heraclitus taught that change is an essential part of life. This idea is very important in economics, where much of what we study is in a continuous state of change. In economics, we can distinguish between the idea of change, one, in economic theory, and two, in the real world. In economic theory, economists very often study change between one situation and another situation that has been caused by a change in one or more variables. It is important to bear this in mind in your study of economics, as you will often be asked to analyze and evaluate this kind of change in a large variety of contexts. Regarding the study of real-world phenomena, the world is characterized by continuous change in the institutional, technological, social, political, and cultural environments in which economics events occur. Now, that's a very fundamental idea. Change is a very fundamental idea. So, like a change. Actually, no. Without an example, we'll continue. So, change. So, the basic ways. I don't want to confuse you guys with these examples already as soon as you learn the word. So, let me just explain it in basic terms. There are around four conventional sectors of production. Sectors of business or sectors of there are for development, as you'd say, or economy, you can say. So primary sector, there's a primary sector which is harvesting natural resources. You don't create anything, you just harvest the natural resources, the natural goods, the free goods, the free goods that the environment provides us with. Yes, so harvesting those free goods would be the primary sector. The secondary sector would be the manufacturing of actual products with the resources that we garnered through the process of harvesting natural resources. And next is the tertiary sector of the economy, which is the service sector, which means that the jobs that would be in the service sector are like I'd say what are some good examples I can give you? Let me think of some better examples than the ones I had in mind, which can be kind of confusing. So yeah, here we go. Like training or like strategic plans, like providing services which requires knowledge and experience. That would be the tertiary sector. And then next, there's a quaternary sector. Quaternary sector is the very it's the sector where innovation happens. So if we look at the examples of quaternary sector jobs, we can find people from programmers to IT specialists, technology developers, information sharing experts, etc. And even I'd say YouTubers, these modern day influencers, blog writers, these people would all fall under the tertiary sector. So yeah, so that is what we can regard as change in economics. It's a very broad definition, but the good thing about this textbook is that it retouches these concepts every time they appear. So every time we are, faced with these key concepts, we'll have a review session. Interdependence. Interdependence refers to the idea that economic decision makers interact with and depend on each other. Such interdependence occurs on all levels, from individuals to communities to nations and to groups of nations. Groups of nations can be the UN or the NATO or etc. The EU. Interdependence arises from the fact that no one is self-sufficient, requiring ever-increasing degrees of interactions and interdependence. Consumers, workers, firms, governments, and all other individuals or groups of individuals depend on one another for the achievement of their economic goals. We cannot become rich or successful by yourself, right? Because you need people, you need consumers. If you're a web developer, you need consumers to your product. You need people to actually consume and use your product, which gives you a monetary compensation. So, the interdependence is the idea where, all individuals and all decision makers in an economy needs to collaborate, needs to come together to, fulfill each other's economic goals. So it's a very interdependent environment, and hence the key concept would be interdependence. Next, and lastly, we have intervention. Yes. So in economics, intervention typically refers to government intervention, meaning that the government becomes involved with the workings of markets. While markets offer numerous advantages as a way to achieve important economic objectives, it is generally recognized that markets on their own often cannot achieve important societal goals, such as the goals of equity, sustainability, economic well-being, or efficiency. When this occurs, whether at the micro or macro levels, there may be good reason for the government to intervene in order to correct for the market's deficiencies. However, economists and policymakers often disagree widely on the need for and degree and method of intervention that is necessary. We'll cover this later on, but in macroeconomic terms, intervention often appears through the Keynesian and new classical monetarist point of views. They clash. So Keynesians and new monetarists, they really they collapse. They collide with each other. But we'll learn that later in macroeconomics. I'm sorry for jumping forward. A key debate that you will repeatedly encounter in your studies of economics involves the advantages and disadvantages of free markets versus government intervention. Now, free markets is like, okay, so let me find the best way to describe free markets.